Gleneagles Hotel, set among the hills of Perthshire in the heart of Scotland. Since 1924, the name Gleneagles has been a byword for five-star luxury and first-class service. There are 250 rooms and twice that number of staff to attend to the visitors' needs. Once owned by the old London, Midland and Scottish Railway, this elegant hotel has been a pawn in takeover struggles in recent years. But the character remains unaltered. Service, attention to detail and organisation. Every day begins with the manager's morning conference. The heads of departments are briefed on events of the day.
Today as you know, we've got the Mechanics Challenge, Jackie Stewart, the main item of business. So Beverly, I think most of the arrivals today are with the challenge, so should we get straight into the arrivals?
Okay, there's 306 guests in the house tonight, and there's 157 room arrivals.
The hotel is far removed from the hot tarmac of the Grand Prix motor racing circuits. But it is from the exotic high-speed world of Formula One racing that today's guests are to come in a few hours' time.
There will be somebody from the shooting school to collect the guns there. If they have their guns, they can give it to somebody at the shooting school.
So they take their own guns to the Gleneagles School?
Yeah. That's okay.
I'm going to base myself in the front hall and will be there pretty well all day while people are coming in. They appear to be, because of the flights, a fair number of separation, but there'll be a wadge of people coming in. If possible, one or two extra management around in the front area, and I can give a buzz if there's any requirement for anything special to go upstairs. Good.
They're coming here to compete in quite a different sport, clay pigeon shooting. It's the very first Mechanics Grand Prix Challenge. This unique event has been planned for those on the less glamorous side of motor racing, the mechanics. And the man behind it all could be none other than 3 times world champion racing driver and international clay pigeon marksman, the world's best-known Scotsman, Jackie Stewart.
The mechanics, in fact, and this is who it was designed for to begin with, really don't get many of the kudos in motor racing. The drivers seem to get all the glamour and a great deal of the money. The sponsors, of course, have got money. The team managers, in a way, are fairly well looked after. But the mechanics are sort of unsung heroes, and I think they're the greatest professionals in our business. So I thought maybe it was something that I could do for them. And that's how it began. I then saw the need to do something for them that wasn't going to cost them any money, maybe to have a weekend with their wives or girlfriends. And I thought, now, how can we do that? So we decided that it would be a sponsored event, keeping the sponsorship more or less within Grand Prix racing. And then we tried to get as many teams interested as possible. We saw the need for the mechanics, but we thought it might be nice for them if they're competing against drivers for the first time, directly against them, and the team managers, and the press, who sometimes give them a hard time, if you like, as well as the sponsors and the tyre fitters. So it all came together, and here we are with 15 teams. And it's the very first time that I can recall that there's ever been an event such as this away from a racetrack where the whole circus or the whole entourage have been in one place for social reasons and that of pleasure.
The competitors have flown from London to airports at Glasgow and Edinburgh, leaving many of their colleagues to go off to the sunshine of Brazil to test cars and tyres for the forthcoming season. They have their first view of Gleneagles through the rain. Many things are guaranteed at Gleneagles, but good weather in January isn't one of them.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Gleneagles. I'm Colonel Ron Smith, the Guest Services Manager, and on behalf of Mr. Peter Lederer, not only do I want to welcome you, but to apologise for this rather dreadful weather that we've got for a very short period of time, I hope, outside.
Well, look who's here. How are you?
To most of the guests, the weekend seems a curious experience not to be missed. And it promises to be fun. But there's another reason for this event. It's to raise money for motor racing's own charity, a boys' club in the East End of London, of which Jackie is president. Since the days of Graham Hill, racing drivers have supported the Springfield Boys' Club. And this weekend, it's hoped to raise enough money to refurbish and redecorate the club premises.
Race the beast.
Hello, Jackie. How are you?
How are you? I tell you, your fellow team manager's been practicing.
Some of the top young drivers are here.
Terry, how are you?
Thierry Boutsen from Belgium. Hotel hopping around the world's most exciting cities, from Montreal to Monaco, these slightly apprehensive guests should find that Gleneagles is not just another bland international hotel. The worst of Scottish weather can do you no harm if you're kitted out in the proper gear. Protective clothing is as important in shooting as in motor racing. And you've got to look the part.
Real slow wellies. That's right. You're part of it now. See, that's when you toe back, you've got room there for your thick socks.
We're running out because we didn't have enough
The right sizes.
But I've phoned the factory and the driver's bringing up, the chauffeur's coming out with the cars, bringing another 30, 40 pairs up.
Okay.
Jackie has recruited his wife Helen to add a personal touch to the welcome. It all adds to the feeling that this is a family affair. She hands out the bibs which will identify the teams. This is the Goodyear team, and other familiar names from motorsport remind us that this is to be a highly competitive weekend. The shootout will be at the range on the nearby grouse moor. And with the winter light fading fast, everyone wants to get some practice and become acclimatized before the contest proper begins tomorrow.
So that your bend
Many
is
are
able
complete
to be
novices.
flexible.
Richard West of McLaren gets the definitive lesson from the maestro himself.
So when you address the target, always think of leaning in, even stick your backside out slightly. But your front leg should be bent. And of course, with your feet like that, you've got a much firmer stance. That's the basis of everything. You know, it doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
So address the target. That knee a little bit bent, that's good. Now, do you want to call for it, or should I?
You're cool.
Okay, so you comfortable?
Yeah.
Ready? Pull. Good, right in the middle of it. Now, your timing was good. It's pull, bang. It shouldn't be pull, look for it, bang.
Right.
It should be pull, bang.
Right.
So it's a nice flow. Okay. Remember that knee again? Ready? Pull. Ooh.
Here it comes now. Through the bird. Right. Too low. Yep, absolutely. Saw the bird above your barrel.
Jonathan Palmer gets some tips from coach Justin Jones, who runs the shooting school at Gleneagles. The flight of the clay is designed to imitate that of a pheasant.
Make sure their safety goes forward. Here it comes now. Disappear. Lovely.
Those who've survived the elements on practice day are greeted in the evening by General Manager Peter Lederer.
I'd just like to take this opportunity before we move through and continue to enjoy ourselves in the ballroom to sincerely welcome everybody to Gleneagles Hotel.
Old acquaintances are renewed. Talking to Innes Ireland is Alan Jones. Alan is one of Britain's finest shots and a former international competitor. He asks Innes, who was the first Scot to win a Grand Prix, how he compares the two sports.
I think a lot of the requirements for a racing driver are rather similar to somebody, you know, who is good at shooting clay pigeons or shooting any form of game birds. Coordination, movement, rhythm, timing, eyesight, reactions, knowing when you're right or wrong. I think there's a lot of similarity. The thing that I've noticed here is that, you know, you've got all these motor racing people, the mechanics particularly, and I now discover the mechanics have been practicing like mad for weeks.
They're so competitive.
And that's right. And I think this is absolutely amazing.
During the night, gale force winds have blown down the lunch marquee at the range, and since first light, attempts are made to re-erect it. The competition has now begun in earnest. There are 15 teams of 6. All are sponsored by companies such as Olivetti and Benetton. The sponsors not only pay the expenses of their team, but must pay the same amount to the boys' club. One of the most enthusiastic, if unskilled, is the press team sponsored by Ford. Russell Bulgin of Motor Magazine. A team thought likely to succeed is the drivers' team as they tackle the grouse. Jonathan Palmer is not only a racing driver but a qualified doctor and spends his spare time flying helicopters. He has won both Formula 2 and Formula 3 championships. Martin Brundle, once a driver of hot rods, has now graduated to Formula 1, beginning with the Brazilian Grand Prix in 1984. He is one of Britain's brightest hopes. Terry Woolsey is from Belgium. He's 28 years old and has been driving for Arrows in Grand Prix racing since 1983. He applies the same concentration to scoring a hit as he does to handling a racing car. The Earl of Dumfries, better known in the racing world as Johnny Dumfries, has moved into Formula 1 with JPS Lotus after winning the British Formula 3 Championship. Another experienced bunch is the team chiefs, the men who own and manage the highly tuned and sophisticated racing machines. Today, they are all on the same side rather than competing against each other. This is Welshman Alan Rees, one-time successful driver and now Arrows team manager. Frank Williams, whose own Grand Prix team is one of the most successful British outfits. Jackie Oliver, former Grand Prix driver and owner of Arrows. Ken Tyrrell, one of the great team managers. With his team, Jackie Stewart won his 3 World Championships. And they finished the day in 3rd position. Innes Ireland tells of the fortunes of the drivers' team.
We're now, I think, lying 3rd overall, which is rather better than I expected. We're unlucky with the weather, you know, we got all that wind and snow, but I'm very, very pleased.
Also pleased is Rolly Vincini, who builds gearboxes for Brabham and is one of the most colourful characters in the pits. It was he who suggested to Stewart that he should organise a shoot for the mechanics.
It was at Monaco when I asked him, and then he said, leave it with me. And that was it. And then he came back a week later and said, I've got sponsors for everything. Elf and Beatrice and Olivetti will put money forwards for the dinner. Land Rover sponsoring the cars, and everybody chipped in, really.
So the first day ends with no clear leader out in front. In the running are JPS Team Lotus, Benetton Motorsport and the Team Chiefs, with only 8 points separating them. In the evening, the competitors enjoy the hotel facilities. Sunday, the second and final day of the Mechanics Grand Prix Challenge. And updating the scores with the story so far, Jackie Stewart.
Well, going in with a much better light, much better day after yesterday's darkness, I mean, it's amazing that the Lotus team have done extremely well. Not amazing, but 168 is a very impressive score. But Benetton is not very far for Benetton to go, because with 163 here, with only 5 targets in it, on the final day, and particularly because of the pheasant flush, that could be eliminated in absolutely one discipline without any trouble. In fact, if one of the fellas suffer a little bit from the pressure, then it's just going to go immediately. The team chiefs at 160. Now, I'm not so happy about that, because I don't want them to win. I want a mechanics team, if possible, to win, but they have done terribly well. Good tyre war going on. I'm afraid Pirelli's taken the lead fairly substantially, 137 to the Goodyear's 117. But again, the pheasant flush, in fact, could easily make up that difference. And of course, the press are at the end. It's so nice, is the fact that they've done so much talking about everything for all these years. Now we know that they really can't do anything.
Out on the moor, the weather has improved just a little for the finals. It's dry, but there's quite a wind blowing, which should give an extra edge to the competition as the tension begins to mount. The highlight is the finale, the pheasant flush. Unlike the previous events, this is not scored individually. Here, the 4 best shots in each team get together and fire very rapidly at 40 clays catapulted into the air in a random manner. Some tactics are involved, and the idea is to miss as few as possible with the combined team effort. Any one of at least 6 teams, all with a score of 300 or over, have a chance of winning this Grand Prix challenge. It all depends on the pheasant flush. The sponsors team do quite well, but can't improve their 12th position. The Arrows team score a good 30 and finish in 5th place. As the competition nears its climax, the spectators become more and more involved, and sometimes have to avoid wayward clays. The 4 from the Longines drivers team are Johnny Dumfries, Innes Ireland, Martin Brundle and Mike Thackwell. They too shoot down 30 of the 40 clays and finish the day in 7th position. The team chiefs, represented by Jackie Oliver, Frank Williams, Ken Tyrrell and David McElrain, end the competition with a grand total of 339 and 4th place. Benetton Motorsport score 33, which puts them ahead of the team chiefs with a final total of 346. Before they begin the flush, JPS Lotus have 337 and need only 10 points to win. Their score of 26 is more than enough to keep them in front, so they become the winners of the very first Mechanics Grand Prix Challenge. The finest smoked Tay salmon will be the first dish on the menu for tonight's prize-giving banquet. 250 identical plates are prepared in the hotel kitchens, which employ a staff of 75 men and women. Cock-a-leekie soup and succulent roast sirloin of Scotch beef have been chosen by Chef Bill Campbell to satisfy the expectations of tonight's guests. The speciality sweet is soufflé glacé drambuie with fresh strawberries and decorated with a chocolate motif. The final touches are added just in time for the starting flag.
It's been a super weekend, but the shooting for us has been dreadful because the journalist team are completely inept. I mean, we have absolutely no talent for shooting at all, I'm afraid. But Glen Eagles is a fabulous hotel, and I think one of the mechanics said to me earlier on that he thought that he wished that all the races could be organised as well as the shooting has been.
It's been a fantastic feeling in Formula One to achieve this. It's something that's never happened, and I hope it happens again every year.
A sentiment shared by most of the guests, including one-time employer of Jackie Stewart, Ken Tyrrell.
But of course, it's been a wonderful weekend, and everybody's had a fantastic time. One of the problems with Jackie is that when he does something, he always wants to do it first class, which sort of reminds me of a story of when he was driving for me. He had just won the Monte Carlo Grand Prix, and we were at Nice Airport on our way back to our various destinies the day after the race, and he was standing checking in at the airport, and a lady recognized him as he was checking in and said, "There's Jackie Stewart, isn't he small?" I couldn't resist the temptation. I said, "He gets bigger when he gets in a racing car."
And Jackie Stewart is particularly happy as he presents the championship prizes because the winners are a mechanics team, the men of JPS Lotus. They get magnums of champagne, crystal decanters, and lots of applause. Many other awards are given because one way to guarantee success is to make sure that no one goes away without a prize for something.
We have a very important award, and this is the Conservation Prize. This is for Save the Clay Pigeon Fund. This gentleman saved 59 lives out there over the last 2 days. He mercifully avoided killing 59 of them. He was only tempted to pull the trigger accurately at 21. And he wins 4 dozen golf balls. Because there's no damn good of him shooting anymore, he may as well take up another sport.
And so the weekend at Glen Eagles comes to an end, with lots of happy faces around. But the happiest will be at the Springfield Boys Club in the London Borough of Hackney. They'll be able to clear their current deficit and give their club a completely new look, because the weekend at Glen Eagles has benefited them to the tune of £24,000.